I came to DeFuniak Springs in 1956. I started the 5th grade that September in 1956. And Sarah Smith was my first teacher here. She was a lovely lady, motherly type teacher. I enjoyed her very much. And that summer that I was here, I had a friend that met a friend, and we rode bicycles all over DeFuniak that summer. And carefree, not a care in the world. Our grandmother had lunch ready for us. We'd check in, and out we'd go again. We did swim in the lake at that time, so that was always an option for us to be able to go to the lake to swim. School was very important to me. Through school, I had some wonderful teachers. One of the most notable one was Margaret Gaston at that time, became Margaret Yates at a later date. She was a lovely lady. I went to Maud Saunders Elementary, and from there to Walton Junior High School. Junior high was 7 through 9 at that time, and high school was 10 through 12, but we were all on the campus together. So the last 6 years I was in one campus there, 2 years over on the elementary side. Also, when I first came here, Milton Smith was the principal there at Maud Saunders, and he was a wonderful principal. Later moved over to Walton as the assistant principal while I was in high school. So he and Bert and Pugh were in charge. They ruled with an iron fist. Another teacher was Miss Yates. She was a dear, dear soul, and she stayed a friend of mine even after I was grown and had children of my own. Donna my oldest daughter was in her class for a period of time, and our friendship continued through those years. Well, there was a movie theater uptown, and that was about the only entertainment that there was other than swimming and those type of things, or riding bikes. Friends just kind of got together at one person's house. You kind of had a house mom, and a lot of times that we'd spend time at each other's house a lot. After I finished high school, I moved to Jacksonville. I had my older sister that I lived with here in DeFuniak had surgery in Jacksonville, and she had complications. So after graduating from high school, I moved to Jacksonville and helped take care of her until she was back on her feet. And I stayed in Jacksonville and went to work with Prudential at the home office. And I worked there for about a year and a half. And before I was married to a high school sweetheart and moved back to DeFuniak. I enjoyed the work there. I was chosen to be an ambassador while I was there that gave tours of the building. We went to class and learned about the marble and all the different, the computer room. The computer room, I remember, was all reel-to-reel tape, and every week there was enough tape that ran from reel to reel on that floor to reach from Jacksonville to Los Angeles, California. I'll always remember that part of it.
Wow.
But that was one of the things that just kind of stood out in my mind. Had some great friends from there. A great boss, Mr. Lee. He was a very kind person. Lost his wife while I was there, and that was sad. But I hated to leave them when I did. But I moved to Albany, Georgia. We were there for about a year, and Bob got out of service, and we came back to DeFuniak then. So been here since that time. Well, I was at home, stayed at home with my children. Donna started kindergarten, and I went to work part-time in the extension office. And from there, I went to work for Philip Anderson in the clerk's office. And I remained there from January the 8th of 1976, and I retired December the 31st of 2012. So there was a little bit of time in there that I worked under the board before I ran for clerk, but other than that, I was right there. Going back to 1956, when I came here, Highway 90 was a 2-lane road. There was no interstate, and all the big trucks and everything came through, right through on 90. And but there wasn't a lot of traffic at that time, other than the local traffic just moving around. But that part has changed through the years a lot. 90 was 4-lane, and of course the interstate came through. 331 was 4-laned in town, but then finally it's been 4-laned all the way to 98. But a lot of changes have taken place. The population has changed. A lot of people have moved in, and some welcome changes and some not so welcome changes. When I first started to work in the clerk's office, I took the minutes of the county commissioner meeting, and it was taken in longhand because Mr. Anderson didn't read shorthand. And he wanted to be able to read the notes. But at that time, there were no computers at all. In fact, the calculator that sat on my desk was probably about 18 inches by 12 inches. It was huge, clunky. And the bookkeeping machine, I remember it would just make all these clacking sounds as it was printing out on the forms. But I think it was about 1984 we got the first computer was a word processor. And I did the county commissioner minutes on the word processor. Well, after they were approved, then they had to be taken and typed into the official minutes book. So after we got the word processor, you could reconfigure it from printing out on regular paper to doing it on the sheets from the minutes book. So that was a tremendous time saver. When I first went to work there, the IBM typewriters we had, they were not where you could correct on them. You had to use the little tape to correct anything on them, that a mistake that you made. But so we got typewriters that you could backtrack and type the right letter then. And from there, really in the late 80s and early 90s, technology really boomed, and it became available programs for the clerk to do all kind of accounting work on it, where it saved a tremendous amount of time. And the companies that would develop one, and it would be that many of the clerk's office would go with that item. So you could share in your ideas of how you could improve and change it, and it really became an asset to the clerk's office. I guess budget time was a time that was pretty tedious, having to recalculate the millage and all on the assessment, when they would make changes. A lot of that was done, the early years was done manually. So then when we entered that into the software package, then we could go back and make those changes, and within just moments we could give them the new millage rate, what the new millage rate would be with adding or taking away whatever they needed to. Sound Bridging, Rabbit Miles, Gordon Porter, they were just some that just pop into my mind right now. but they were always very supportive and very kind, and when they would come to request something, they always gave you enough time to research it. You know, might have to get up with the county attorney, George Ralph Miller, to verify certain things. But they were always very, very kind. And I always chuckled at Mr. Miles because, I mean, if something was presented, I mean, he could add numbers in his head like you wouldn't believe. He was a calculator himself. And that always amazed me, how he could do that. Oh my, with population changing as it is now, I think that it's going to grow tremendously. The growth that's occurring now in Freeport's just going to come right on north, I believe. And I think that it'll be hard to look back and see some of the same sites and recognize them the way they are today even.
Any advice that you would give to people growing up?
I would tell them to never forget their family, never forget where they came from. It's very important to keep those roots grounded and to stay grounded. Don't ever let someone talk you into something that may look really good, but it may not be in the long run. So always weigh your choices before you make them, and just stay grounded, and just remember you're from DeFuniak.